The moment before death is usually the time when the truth comes out. Some dying individuals use it to correct their mistakes, appreciate their loved ones and cherish their best moments. They may also reveal their deepest secrets and greatest regrets. However, some admissions have turned controversial, especially when it involves the revelation of a secret after the person survived. Today, we will look at the confessions and conversions of 9 individuals on their deathbed, which went horribly wrong. Number 9. James Brewer. In 2009, Michael Anderson suffered a stroke that he believed was going to kill him. At the hospital, he revealed that he was actually 58-year-old James Brewer. He had changed his name around 30 years earlier, after he was declared wanted in Tennessee, for the murder of his neighbor Jimmy Carroll. James shot Jimmy to death outside a gas station, over suspicions that Jimmy was trying to have an affair with his wife. James was arrested for the murder, but fled with his wife right after he was released on bail. They went to Oklahoma, where they changed their names and started to live a new life. James told the police that he had decided to confess because he wanted to cleanse his soul before dying. James was so sure that his time was up, that he even told his wife to stop interfering when she tried to halt his confession. Fortunately for justice, James survived the stroke and was charged with murder. Number 8. James Washington. In July 1995, firefighters discovered the charred remains of a woman in an empty home in Nashville, Tennessee. Police later identified the woman as 35-year-old Joyce Goodener, who had been stabbed and beaten to death. Afterward, the murderer had placed her body in a rug before setting it on fire. Police arrested James Washington for the murder. He admitted that he saw her on the day she died. However, police could not pin the murder on him as there was no DNA evidence at the crime scene. Things changed in 2009, when James Washington suffered a heart attack while serving a 15-year sentence for attempted murder. Fearing that he was going to die, Washington called a nearby officer and confessed to the 1995 murder. Things went south for Washington when the heart attack didn't prove fatal. Tomlinson informed authorities about the confession, and Washington was charged with murder. Washington recanted the confession and claimed that he was hallucinating at the time. Unfortunately, it was too late. He was convicted of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. Number 7. Tony Wakeford. In 2006, Tony suffered a life-threatening illness caused by Parkinson's disease. Thinking he was going to die, he called his wife, Patricia, and confessed to having an affair with her best friend. Patricia patiently listened to all he had to say. Death was near anyway, so she let it slide. They were wrong. Tony survived. However, Patricia could not contain the pain of betrayal by her husband. Then on September 4, 2010, she murdered him in their home. Afterwards, she called 999 and claimed that her husband had attacked her during a fight. Police arrived to find Tony's remains. He had multiple stab wounds on his arms, hands, and legs. However, the one that proved fatal was delivered straight into his heart. Patricia insisted that Tony had attacked her first, even though investigators believed that she had murdered Tony in a fit of jealousy. A neighbor also told investigators that he had heard Patricia repeat the words, "I hate you," for about 10 minutes, on the day before the murder. Patricia was arrested for murder. However, she got lucky, after the court reduced the charge to manslaughter. Number 6. Unidentified 91-year-old man. In 2015, a 91-year-old British man living in Canada confessed to murdering a woman outside a nightclub on Carnaby Street, UK, in 1946. This is considered the longest period between a crime and confession in British criminal history. The unidentified man confessed at a Canadian police station right after he was diagnosed with cancer. Canadian officers informed the British police, who promptly sent investigators to interrogate the man. The victim was a prostitute, who he could not recall. However, he remembered that he had shot her to death with a pistol. When British officers showed him pictures of several women, the man identified his victim. She had been a 26-year-old prostitute called Margaret Cook. Police had never arrested a suspect in Cook's murder, even though the man had remained in Britain for 5 years, before relocating to Canada. Canadian police offered to extradite the man to the UK. However, Canadian judges refused to honor the extradition because the man was too old. They also thought a trial was unnecessary, because the murder would have remained unsolved if the man had not confessed. Number 5. Mr. Jeffrey. In 1988, British police found the remains of a gruesomely murdered woman in a flat in Cardiff, UK. The woman was stabbed 50 times across her body. She was later identified as a 20-year-old prostitute called Lynette White. In 1990, 3 individuals received life sentences for the murder. However, they were released 2 years later, after advancements in DNA technology proved they were innocent. A few years later, police turned their radar on a man called Jeffrey. He somehow realized that he was under police surveillance. He then visited several stores where he purchased large amounts of paracetamol tablets. He swallowed the tablets when he returned home. Police broke into his home and arrested him. He confessed to the murder as an ambulance transported him to a hospital, thinking he was going to die. That never happened, and he went on to make a full recovery. Jeffrey did not retract his confession. However, he said he was no longer interested in dying and was prepared to face the consequences for his action. He received a life sentence, and had to spend 13 years in prison before he could be considered for parole. Number 4. In 2018, a cancer patient at Auckland City Hospital in New Zealand informed a doctor that he had some confessions to make. He added that he would only disclose the information on the condition that the doctor promised never to tell anyone else. The doctor agreed. He claimed that he was responsible for several murders across New Zealand in the 1960s. The unidentified doctor later encouraged Sean to write a confession for the police in case he died. It is unclear if Sean wrote that letter. However, police learned about Sean after several medical and law researchers published a paper discussing the moral and legal consequences of keeping such secrets. The paper generated a controversy that split medical practitioners into 2 groups. One supported the doctor who kept the secret, while the other wanted the doctor to reveal it. The supportive group noted that secrets should never be revealed because they are considered a sort of bond between doctors and their patients. Sean's health improved significantly, and doctors even had to reduce the amounts of painkillers he received. In fact, Sean was discharged and sent to a nursing home for palliative care. Number 3. Charles Darwin. Darwin died in April 1882. Soon after, there were rumors that he had converted to Christianity just before his death. The first such claims were made during a sermon. Darwin's deathbed conversion was a big deal, because he proposed the theory of evolution. The theory pitched him against religionists who believed that God had created the world and everything within. This is the creationist theory. The creationist and evolutionist theories cannot both be true, at least not totally. Elizabeth Cotton reignited the rumor in 1915, when she declared that Darwin had really converted to Christianity. Cotton claimed that Darwin was reading a Bible when she visited him at his home. Darwin was gravely ill at the time. However, Darwin's family continued to deny every accusation made against him. His daughter Henrietta was with him at the time of his death, and never saw him convert. His wife, Emma, added that he would have never converted. Number 2. King Louis XV. He was a French king with great taste in women. He became king at age 5 and married his wife, Queen Marie Leszczyńska, when he was just 15. He soon got tired of the queen and found several mistresses to satisfy his sexual urges. King Louis had his mistresses live in the same palace that he shared with his wife. The mistresses resided in different apartments that were linked to the king's bedroom by a secret staircase. The mistresses used that staircase whenever the king requested their services. The king's philandering ways almost came to an end after he was stabbed by Robert on January 5, 1757. Thinking that he was dying, King Louis was rushed to his palace, where he confessed his infidelity to Queen Marie, and promised to reveal more details if he ever recovered. He did get better, but there is no mention that he made more confessions, or dumped his mistresses. Number 1. Bjorn Ironside. Bjorn is a legendary figure, although his existence remains in doubt. He was supposedly a Viking king, who ruled Sweden sometime in the 9th century. He frequently organized surprise attacks into cities that would now be located in Europe and North Africa. One of his most infamous raids occurred when he partnered with another Viking, called Hason, to attack the Italian city of Luni, which they mistook for Rome. The raid started with a siege. However, the duo quickly realized that the city was well defended against assault. So they decided to trick their way in. Hason sent a message to the local bishop in Luni, claiming that Bjorn was on his deathbed, and wanted to convert to Christianity. The bishop agreed, and allowed some of the Vikings to carry his body into Luni. Bjorn leapt out of his coffin, and fought his way to the city gates alongside the Viking soldiers, disguised as pallbearers. However, they soon realized that they had attacked the wrong city.